Good evening, everybody. Welcome to VenTalk Live. It's great to be able to have this chance to be closer to the triple gems, despite all of us actually going back to phase 2. But nonetheless, let's give a warm greeting to Venerable Ben Si. Good evening, Venerable Ben Si.
Good evening, Joshua. Good evening, everyone.
Ven, so in last month's VenTalk, we discussed about the qualities of the Buddha and how that makes him a worthy refuge. And Ven, you actually gave us a homework to actually supplicate to the Buddha and to seek his help in whatever things we do, and to remember his good qualities when we are seeking his help.
Yes, so did you manage to do the homework?
I did try, but as I remember, most of the time I only remember this after I have completed what I was doing.
That is already a very good start. It's actually quite normal that when we have not built this into a natural habit, we may not be able to remember it on the spot. Being able to remember, after the thing happened, that's already a sign of putting in effort and a sign of improvement. Okay, so just keep working on this, and then you will be able to remember more and more often, and then eventually it will become a natural habit.
But then, while thinking of the Buddha's good qualities that we covered last week, right? I also remember that when you shared with us that Buddha, he still have arch enemy like Devadatta. So for ordinary beings, right? The reason why we have enemies is because of our negative karma that we created in the past life. But if the Buddha has already cleared away all his negative karma and perfected all the good qualities, like what you told us last month, then we would think that surely he shouldn't have enemies like Devadatta who seem to dislike him so much. So it seems like in every past life story of the Buddha where Devadatta appear, Devadatta will do something to hurt the Buddha, and even until this life, when Buddha gained enlightenment, Devadatta actually still caused trouble for him. So can I ask actually why is that so?
Yes, that's a very, very good question. Like I said in last month's VenTalk, we shouldn't view the Buddha as just an ordinary human being, because the Buddha has already cleared away all his negative karma, and he has already perfected all good qualities. So if it is not because of the Buddha's negative karma, then what is causing Devadatta to behave like the Buddha's arch enemy, even trying to kill the Buddha a few times? The answer can be found in the Great Compassionate Lotus Sutra. In Chinese, it's called 大悲莲花经. Okay, so this is actually a different Lotus Sutra from the one that is the more popular one, the 妙法莲花经, 大乘妙法莲花经. That one is also known as Lotus Sutra, but this one is the Great Compassionate Lotus Sutra. Okay, so it goes back many eons ago when Shakyamuni Buddha was still a bodhisattva, practicing the bodhisattva deeds. At that time, he was a prime minister of a world ruler, or in the technical term, it's called a 转轮圣王, a wheel-turning king. Okay, so a wheel-turning king is actually someone who rules the whole world. Yeah, so at that time, this bodhisattva that Shakyamuni Buddha was, his name is called Samudra Renu. Okay, in Chinese, it's called Bao Hai, which actually means treasure sea, okay, or precious sea, Samudra Renu. Samudra Renu, he had a son who grew up and left the house and then eventually became a Buddha by the name of Ratnagarbha. Okay, so this Samudra Renu is the father of the Buddha, okay, Ratnagarbha Buddha. When Samudra Renu's son attained Buddhahood, the world ruler, his 1,000 sons and 84,000 minor kings, went to make offerings to Ratnagarbha Buddha, and they made aspirations before the Buddha. And all of them wish for the happiness in cyclic existence. Okay, so for example, some of them, they wish to become the king of heaven. Some wants to be the next world ruler. Some wants to become the Jade Emperor, okay, which is also a ruler of the king in the heavens. Okay, and then some want to become Brahma. Rama is actually the ruler of the form realm. Yeah, and then someone to become billionaires, the richest man in the world. And then the highest aspiration among them is just to achieve arahat, to become an arahat or a pratika Buddha. And so none of them aspires to achieve Buddhahood.
Oh, so Van, actually, all this sounds a bit familiar. They're actually practicing what you have been telling us to do, right? To whatever activities we engage in, and for whatever purpose, we make offerings and we supplicate to the Buddha.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, very good, Joshua. It shows that you have been doing the homework. So you are able to spot someone else doing the same thing. So it's true in whatever things that we do, whatever things that we want to achieve, whatever things that we wish for, we make offerings and then we supplicate to the Buddha. So that is one of the precepts of refuge. Yeah, but let me continue with the story. So after the king, the world ruler, the princes and the minor kings have made their wishes, Samudra Renu then had dreams. So he dreamed dreams. Yeah, his dreams. In the dreams there are omens that none of those. The king, the princes, the minor kings, none of them made aspirations to achieve Buddhahood. Yeah, the king and the princess had wished for happiness in cyclic existence. So actually, Samudra Renu, through his dreams, he knew all this, that none of them aspires to achieve Buddhahood. So Samudra Renu actually went to Rana Gaba Buddha to tell him about his dreams, and then Rana Gaba Buddha confirmed the truth of his dreams. So after that, Samudra Renu went about using different methods to urge everyone to generate bodhicitta, or the spirit of enlightenment. And then he himself, he also made offerings to Ratna Gaba Buddha for 7 years. And then finally, he managed to persuade everyone to make aspirations to achieve Buddhahood. And then when Ratna Gaba Buddha saw that everyone has renew their vows again, make new vows, to want to achieve Buddhahood, to generate the spirit of enlightenment, he then made predictions for the world ruler, his sons, and the minor kings. So the world ruler, his new vow is that when I attain Buddhahood, my Buddha land will be free of miserable realms. Everyone there will walk the Mahayana path and become Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And then whoever who hears his name and remembers him frequently and dedicate their virtuous karma will be reborn in his pure land after they pass away. And Ratna Gaba Buddha, on hearing the world ruler's vow, predicted that he will attain Buddhahood by the name of Amitabha Buddha. And then the crown prince also made a vow to take after his father. And then Ratna Gaba Buddha gave him the name Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, or in Chinese we call him Guan Si Yin Pusa. And then the second prince also made a vow to succeed his elder brother, the crown prince. And then Ratna Gaba Buddha gave him the name Maha Samaprada, or Da Shizi Pusa in Chinese. So the three of them are now Amitabha Buddha, Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, Guan Si Yin Pusa, and Maha Samaprada Bodhisattva, Da Shizi Pusa, also known as the Xifang Sansena in Chinese, the three sages of the Western Pure Land. Then after that, the third prince, he also made vows imbued with very profound and inconceivable wisdom. And Ratna Gaba Buddha gave him the name Manjusri. And then the eighth prince was given the name Sama the Bhadra. In Chinese, we call him Puxian Pusa. Manjusri is Wensu Pusa. And then the ninth prince was given the name of Ashobya. In Chinese, we call him Achufo. So similarly, the other princes and minor kings, they also take turns to make similar vows that they want to achieve Buddhahood. But they vow that their Buddha land will be pure lands, and virtuous people from the 10 directions will be reborn there. so that they can teach them the Mahayana teachings and guide them to Buddhahood. So after, after the world ruler, the princes and the minor kings meet their aspiration to achieve Buddhahood in the Pure Land, Samudra Renu's own disciples, 1,004 of them, they also make aspirations to achieve Buddhahood. They aspire to do this in this impure Saha world. But at a time when human beings possess very good conditions to learn the Dharma, when human beings has great merits, virtues, and long lives.
When just now when you're explaining, right, I heard a new term. You said Saha world. So actually, what is Saha world?
Saha world is the world system that we live in, okay, the land where Shakyamuni Buddha teaches in. Over here, we are an impure land, okay, compared to a pure land. Right? This land is impure, okay, meaning that there are miserable realms, there are a lot of suffering. Okay, even in the happy realms, we still have sufferings. So Saha actually means the land of endurance. In Chinese, it's called 堪忍世界. Okay, because the sentient beings here have a lot of afflictions and suffering caused by greed, hatred, and delusion. But even though there's a lot of suffering, but the beings here, the sentient beings here, are still very attached to this world. Yeah, so the conditions here for learning the Dharma is actually very, very poor conditions. Okay, so that is why it's called the land of endurance. Okay, even though the conditions in Saha world is unsuitable for learning the Dharma, but 1,000 Buddhas will still appear during this yon. So this yon, this time period, is also known as the auspicious yon. And those 1,000 Buddhas are those disciples of Samudra Renu who made the vows, okay, after the world ruler and the princess, to achieve Buddhahood here in Saha world. But of course, they make the vow that they will attain Buddhahood at a time when conditions are better. Okay, yeah. So now Shakyamuni Buddha is the fourth Buddha of the 1,000 Buddhas to take birth here in the Saha world. Okay, but to continue with the story, okay, so these princes and minor kings are now Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that we are familiar with. Okay, just now when I mentioned those names, right? Manjusri Bodhisattva, Samantabhadra Bodhisattva, Ashobha Bodhisattva, these are all familiar names that we are very familiar with.
Yes, and Pastor, just now you said that the world ruler is now Amitabha Buddha, Amitofo, and there are many Buddhists that I know of and that we can see in the Buddhist community who wants to be reborn into his pure land. So actually, when I hear this, right, to me it's a bit like, wow, there are all these Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that we are actually familiar with, right? They have been working together for many eons. Since they were just like ordinary beings like us, they made their aspirations to do so.
Yes, they are just like us when they are ordinary beings, learning and practicing together. Joshua, do you remember in March VenTalk, we actually talked about the importance of learning together in an environment, okay, together with harmonious companions, where there is an excellent teacher guiding us, teaching us the excellent teachings. Okay, and then this group of people will then progress through high status rebirth, life after life. Yeah, so we say that this learning environment is an environment of excellent teacher, complete teachings, and harmonious community, right? Yeah, so Samudra Renu's story is an example, okay, that even Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, when they were still ordinary beings practicing, they also practice and progress together like this in such an environment. So they will also achieve Buddhahood together. So this group of people who learn together, progress together, they will also achieve Buddhahood together. And then after they achieve Buddhahood, they will still continue to work together as a team to help sentient beings.
Then what you just said, it sounds really beautiful about how we were all, like just like the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, we will start as a group of virtuous friends, and in the end, we will just go through this together to benefit a lot of sentient beings. But my question is still there, but about this Samudra Renu. But actually, what predictions did he get from Ratnagarbha Buddha?
Yeah, so we still have not seen what prediction he got, right, from Ratnagarbha Buddha. So let us continue with the story. Okay, so after all the princes and minor kings made their vows and received their predictions, Samudra Renu, he was filled with compassion. Okay, and then he started thinking, wow, if all these future Buddhas made vows to achieve Buddhahood in Pure Lands, and then teach the virtuous people to practice the Dharma, then who is going to teach the wicked and the non-virtuous people? Who is going to help these people? And actually, these people are the ones who need the Buddha's teachings, okay, to help them end their evil ways and attain happiness. Okay, and then he also started thinking, well, even among my disciples who make aspirations to achieve Buddhahood in impure land, Saha world, they aspire to teach the virtuous people here. So who is going to help those with deep-rooted afflictions, those who commit the 5 sins of immediate retribution, those who slander the 3 jewels, those who don't believe in karma, those who commit the 10 non-virtuous actions? Nobody make the vow to actually help them directly. So Samudra Renu, then he made a great vow. Okay, he said that, I vow that I will attain Buddhahood in the impure Saha world at a time when the beings there is non-virtuous, create negative karma, have short lifespans, have weak moral values, where there are many disasters and conflicts, okay, where conditions are such that they are very difficult to teach. They will have little faith in the Buddha's teachings. Okay, and then not only that, he also made the vow, all non-virtuous beings of the 10 directions who commit the 5 sins of immediate retribution will also be reborn in my impure land, in my Buddha land, so that I can teach and help them. And then not only that, Samudra Renu, he also made aspiration that he wants to be reborn in the miserable realms while he is still practicing the Bodhisattva deeds, so that he can get close to these sentient beings that he wants to teach, okay, so that he can build up a karmic connection with them. And then if he is reborn as a human, he will also give away anything sentient beings ask for, including his head, his limbs, his body parts, his bone marrow, in order to help them and plant the causes to teach them the Dharma when he attained Buddhahood. So can you guess who is Samudra Renu now?
Then I'm not very clever, but to guess, but because we are talking about Shakyamuni Buddha in the start, so my guess is that Samudra Renu is Shakyamuni Buddha.
Yes, you got it. Samudra Renu is now Shakyamuni Buddha. Yes, correct.
But actually, I'm really touched to hear this, and all the kings, the princes, and Samudra Renu's disciples, they aspire to achieve Buddhahood in places where the time is actually ripe for sentient beings to learn the teachings. And recently, I have been thinking about those great people in our time. Maybe not in our time, but like sort of Gandhi or our late Prime Minister mentor. So what they did was that they aspire. What I think at one point of time they aspire to do something big to help the society. And before that, they actually just started off as normal human like you and I, but they at one point of time they were aspired to do something great to help the society, help the country. And I think it takes a lot of courage, compassion, and like what I said just now, a great aspiration. And I feel that that's actually very admirable for any being to actually say that, yeah, one day I'm going to benefit all beings. I'm going to become a Buddha. Then on the other hand, Samudra Renu, who wants to he's made a vow, right? He wants to achieve Buddhahood at the time where the conditions are the worst. So to me, it's like a teacher or principal, right? To volunteer to teach in a school with high crime rate or the city is actually drug infested, and they do that so that the children can actually break out of this vicious cycle of crime and drugs to one day hopefully they can achieve a brighter future.
Yes, this is a very good analogy. Yeah, so Shakyamuni Buddha is just like the teacher, right, who wants to help those underprivileged children, okay, those living in high crime, drug infested area. So do you know who those children are?
I would guess that the children are us.
Yes, that's us, because now we are living here in this Sahara, okay, at this time where conditions for learning the Buddha's teachings is really unfavorable. Okay, so Shakyamuni Buddha come specially for us, okay, because he made those vows that he wants to help us, sentient beings. We are those children who are stuck in suffering and afflictions, and we are very difficult to teach. Why? Because we are too preoccupied with our immediate suffering that we are facing. Okay, as you yourself, you may also feel this. Whenever you are suffering, it's actually very difficult, okay, to want to pick up that energy to listen to the Buddha, to listen to his teachings. So Shakyamuni purposely, okay, come for us. Okay. Yeah, but what I find even more touching is that Shakyamuni Buddha, in order to get close to us, to build a good karmic connection with us, okay, he actually vowed to be reborn in the miserable realms when he's practicing the Bodhisattva deeds. Okay, and then if he's reborn as a human, he will also give away anything that we ask for, including his head, his limbs, his body parts, his bone marrow, in order to help us plant the causes, to build up the connection, so that when he teaches us the Dharma, we will be willing to listen to him. Okay, so that when he attains Buddhahood, okay, we will be willing to listen to what he teaches us.
After listening to this, right, I think it's like we can view it in this way because like us normal human beings, we would often sort of tag ourselves or we view ourselves as a good or virtuous person. Then after doing that, we will try not to associate ourselves with sort of the evil people, like those bad people, like what you said just now, a place with high crime rates or drug infested. But yet the Buddha was willing to not only be this close to us, but he was also willing to give up parts of his body and even to give up his own life just so that we can start planting some virtual seeds.
Yes, correct. In other words, if we now have faith in Shakyamuni Buddha and we are willing to listen to his teachings, it's really because in many of our past life, Shakyamuni Buddha has already been helping us. And he has given us his dearest possessions, including his head, his limbs, his body parts. And then in our past life, we may have criticized him or slandered him or harmed him before. Okay, but Shakyamuni Buddha never harbor any hostility towards us, but instead only has compassion for us and vow even stronger to teach us when he achieved Buddhahood. I will share another story, okay, where this will be an example. Okay, and then another thing that we can learn from this is that Shakyamuni Buddha, he actually meet with the same kind of suffering and challenges that we are all now facing, because he progressed through the spiritual path in the same environment as us. So he has all the experience. He's fully qualified to guide sentient beings like us because he has been through what we are going through. So if you can think about this often, you'll be very, very touched. And then your faith in the Buddha will become stronger and your refuge will correspondingly also increase. And then when you make prostrations to the Buddha, it will not just be a standard motion to be done in a temple or a standard routine that you do every morning. But you'll be one in which you prostrate with full respect and gratitude for what the Buddha has done for us.
And after when you said that, I remembered something is that I had read in a scripture whereby it says that we have been before we are here right now, we are actually have been wandering in the three miserable realms for countless of lifetimes, and maybe as an ant or even a vicious predator. But yet today, to think of it, I have this chance to sit over here to talk to Venerable or even ask you questions regarding the Dharma. It's actually all due to the sacrifices that Buddha has made for me.
Yes. So if you can contemplate this often, contemplate the reason why you are now so fortunate to be a human being and then able to learn the Buddha's teachings. It's really because the Buddha has been helping you to become what you are now today. Yeah. So when you think about this often, your refuge will then take on a whole new meaning when you say, I go for refuge to the Buddha. Not only will you have full respect and gratitude to the Buddha every time you take refuge, you will also be filled with hope and optimism for your future. You will also be filled with hope and optimism whenever you are troubled, because you know that it's not just Shakyamuni Buddha helping you, even though he alone is more than fully qualified. But he also have a whole team of his fellow companions of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas helping him. Right? Yeah, so for example, here, right, in the Saha world, we also have Manjusri Bodhisattva. We also have Kwan Yin Pusa, Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, Samantabhadra Bodhisattva helping us. Okay, and then there are other pure lands that we can go to when we have accumulated enough collections of merits and wisdom. Okay, so in other words, to follow on from the analogy that you gave just now, if Shakyamuni Buddha is like the principal who opens schools in the inner city neighborhood, the high crime rate neighborhood, to help underprivileged children, then Amitabha Buddha, Medicine King Buddha would be those principals who set up elite schools for these children who have broken the vicious cycle of crimes and drugs. Okay, so you are not alone, you are looked after by the caring Shakyamuni Buddha and his team of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas.
And I think just like a child who grew up in a not so virtuous city or crime infested city, and a teacher came in to help, and this child, he eventually graduated from Harvard University. So I think it sounds beautiful that the Shakyamuni Buddha has his fellow companions has been I think the Shakyamuni Buddha and his fellow companions has been learning together for so many eons, and even now after they have already achieved Buddhahood, they are still good friends. Can I say that? Working together to help sentient beings. And I think it makes me wonder if one day my virtuous friends and I will go through this together, like how the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas did.
Yes, definitely. If you and your virtuous friends can learn together as a group for the rest of this life, then next life when you come back, you will definitely meet each other again. And then you will continue learning under the excellent teacher. Okay, and then if in the next life you can learn together again as a group, then in the next life, you will also continue to learn together and progress together. So if you can do this life after life, then one day when all of you all have perfected your wisdom and compassion, you will all attain enlightenment and become Buddhas and Bodhisattvas together. And then you will continue to help sentient beings together.
Well, actually, that sounds like a wonderful aspiration or wonderful journey ahead of us. But I think just now, Van, you told us that there's going to be a new story, right? Before that, can I ask Van, because you haven't answered this question about why the Buddha has arch enemies such as Devadatta.
Yes, I did not forget. Okay, so let me continue with Samudra Renu's story, okay, which will reveal the final answer. Okay, so when the world ruler, the princess, and the other bodhisattvas heard about Samudra Renu's vows, they were so moved by him, okay, that they made aspiration to be reborn as Samudra Renu's parents, wife, servants, disciples, okay, life after life, okay, to help him. Then among them was a naked ascetic who then made the vow that every life he comes back until Samudra Renu attained Buddhahood, he will come and ask from Samudra Renu everything that he has, okay, including his head, marrow, and even his life. Why? in order to help Samudra Renu quickly perfect his 6 perfections and attain Buddhahood. When Samudra Renu heard the vow by the naked ascetic, he was overjoyed. Okay, and then he praised him. You are my best companion. In all your future lives, when you come and ask for my things, I will always use the purest motivation to give you what you ask for, so that you will not accumulate any negative karma. Can you guess who that naked ascetic is?
Was it Devadatta?
Yes, of course, correct. So that's the reason why Devadatta seems to be an enemy of the Buddha. And every life when they meet, Devadatta will be an enemy of the Buddha because of this vow, okay, that he made with Samudra Renu, okay, in order to help Samudra Renu to achieve Buddhahood quickly. How? By providing him with challenges and thus the opportunities to progress quickly along the path through overcoming those challenges. Okay, so that explains why the Buddha has an enemy in Devadatta. It's not because of the Buddha's negative karma that he created on Devadatta. It's because of their vows to help each other progress along the path quickly. And then if we look at the past life story of the Buddha and Devadatta, we can see this very clearly. The Buddha has never harbored Devadatta any ill intentions, even though Devadatta harmed him every life, but instead only show compassion for him. And then Devadatta, on the other hand, has never shown, shown any signs of repentance or regret, okay, but instead continue to harm the Buddha. So it's really through the power of their vows, not their karma.
Oh, Ben, actually, sorry, I think after listening to this, right, I think it's is it to show us that to not be actually afraid of the challenges that are in front of us?
Yes. So there's another lesson that we can learn from the Buddha and Devadatta. Instead of being afraid of suffering and challenges and wanting to avoid them and run away from suffering, if we can view these challenges with proper perspective, then we can actually transform them into opportunities for us to progress quickly along the path. And then in the process, to increase our mental strength, our compassion, and our wisdom. This is the path that our great teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha, has taken. Okay, so we should also take courage from his example, learn the teachings diligently from him, okay, and then transform our suffering into wisdom and compassion, and vow to become as great as him.
And actually, after listening to this, right, I have a different feeling about the Buddha as of, I think, after listening, I used to have this feeling that the Buddha, he was just this all-powerful figure, or deity up in the sky. I think in previous VenTalk session, I've actually shared this view of mine before. But after these few VenTalk sessions, right, we found out that the Buddha is actually someone who is very, I would say, close to us, and someone that will listen to our prayers, and someone that we can rely on, and perhaps even a role model that we can aspire to be like one day. So, looking forward to Van's sharing about the next story, right? Just now that you said of how the Buddha has to endure hostility from his future disciples while he was practicing the Bodhisattva's path. But unfortunately, time is almost up. Can allow me to do a summary of the main points that we learned today. Okay, so today's lesson, or not today's lesson, today's VenTalk, it was a lesson for me that Van actually taught us that we are or whatever Van has told us about or taught us in this few VenTalk is about how to increase our strength in our refuge, right? And so it can increase our strength by thinking about these few points. So the first one is that Buddha and his team. I think if you remember earlier in this session, Van actually told us about Buddha and his team of other bodhisattvas or other Buddhas like Amitabha Buddha, Medicine King Buddha, or Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva and Manjushri Bodhisattvas, and so on and so forth, many other bodhisattvas. And they have been benefiting us lifetimes after lifetimes. And Shakyamuni Buddha, his kindness towards us is especially great because of his vows to help us. To help us during this time, during this time where the conditions are unfavorable. Then after that we have Ven. Then after that Ven told us about the story of Devadatta, that teaches us that we should not be afraid of challenges, but instead to use them as an opportunity to increase our wisdom and compassion. Is that correct?
Yes, very good. Those are the main learning points for today. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. So with that, can we invite Venerable to lead us in the dedication?
Okay, so let us continue to focus. Okay, it's important that we dedicate the merits that we accumulated tonight through this learning. Okay, yeah, so we want to dedicate it towards enlightenment. Okay, so we focus. May these profound merits and virtues be dedicated to all sentient beings. May we eliminate all karmic obstacles, and together may we attain the state of Buddhahood. Okay, thank you very much. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Venerable. Thank you, everyone who has joined us. Good night.